All right, so in the last one, we added a rack and pinion to our frame. And rack and pinion is pretty cool because it translates circular rotational motor movements into lateral back and forth, or it could be up and down movements too. So we have circular motion turned into lateral motion. All right, but it made a new problem for us. Gears are infinite. You can just keep turning them as much as you want. They're circular and infinite. They just go around. The rack, however, has a problem. It only has a certain number of teeth on it, and when we get to the end of it, it doesn't loop around like a normal gear. So you just run out and you run to the limits of our system. Can't go any further. Or you could say you're up against the end of the rack. So for limits and ends, we have what are called limit switches, and sometimes people call these end stops. However you want to call them, though, here's what they are. They're simply a sensor, and today we're going to use the push sensor, or the force sensor, and the color sensor in our kits. And we're going to use these to detect when this thing has gone too far. Okay, so the first limit switch that we're going to add is the force sensor. When this thing runs up against it and pushes this in, it's going to tell our Lego computer, we're done, our microcontroller I should call it, that we're done, and don't let the motor, even if someone pushes the button, it's not possible to go any further, so stop. Even if they're pressing it, we're going to have a little safety feature to stop this, okay? So let's go ahead and get this thing mounted on here. This one's really easy to put. So the first thing that you're going to do is take the pins and put them into these two holes, not these guys, the ones that are right up against this thing, the closest ones on the light colored part. And then I'm going to take my setup here, and right here, see these right at the end? They're on the black piece at the end. We're going to put this right in here. Now, if you built everything correctly, it should line up so that when we press this, whoops, you can see that, it's not on yet. It was powerful enough to push it off of there. Then when we press it, this thing should run into the switch and push it down. If you don't have it lined up like that, you're going to have to fix this and rebuild it so it's correct like I showed you in the last video, okay? So we've got that on there. I'm going to turn this off for now. And let's put the other one on. This one's a little bit more complex to get it on there. All right, so for this one, we're going to need these pieces right here. We're going to need this. This is going to give the color sensor something to look at and see that color. This is going to be here to hold that on, so let's put that right in here. And this is going to be to mount the color sensor. So let's take this and plug it in right here, okay? So I'm going to put this piece on here right now to detect this. Okay, so we have our other end stop here, and I'm going to take this piece, and all the way down here towards the bottom, there's this hole on the black connector piece that holds the thing together, and I want to make it so that the camera eye on the color sensor is looking straight up, so it's looking up. Okay, now, the problem is, though, is that when this thing goes by it, it's not even going to see it, even though it's right there. So what we have to do is we're going to put this piece on so that the camera, the color sensor, has something to look at and actually see that it's gone too far. So I'm going to take this piece, and right here, there's a cross connector that it's kind of hard to see, but it's there, and it's going to go here. Now, and I'll turn it by hand, when this motor pushes this thing, it's going to push that color right in front of the camera, and the camera's going to see it and say, hey, no more. Don't let the motor go any further. So on one end, we have a physical end stop that actually presses this like a button. And the other end, we're putting an optical sensor for an optical end stop with a color sensor. Now, somebody might ask, like, how come I can't use this over here, or two of these, or maybe, heck, why couldn't I even use this as something that detects it? And the answer is you could absolutely do that. I just chose these two because they were the best options we had, and it gives us two things to look at, like two different ways of doing it. But I just want you to know that that's arbitrary. Like, I just chose those. You could actually have two of these, one on each end, or two of these, one on each end. It would work the same way. All right. So now that we've got it built, now that we've got this thing built, problem is it still doesn't work. Look at that. It like keeps going, right? It would even rip itself apart. And some machines are actually strong enough if they don't have these to rip themselves apart. That's why it's important to put them on there. And you can see here, just still doesn't do anything. It just keeps going. So we've done nothing so far. Let's get in there. Most of this is going to be done in the coding, and it's not a whole lot different than what we've already done. All right, so let's get into our code. Okay, so now what we need to do is fix the code so that it actually works and not just is there physically, but actually does something, all right? So let's take a look here. First of all, we'll start off, and I wanted to take a look at this one here. If I turn this back on, let's take a look, and this is my, now what I've done, by the way, let's take a look at both of these. I plugged this one into port A, and I plugged this one, the color sensor, into port B, all right? So now that I have those plugged in, and and by the way, my motor is plugged into E. So if we run our code right now, let me connect this. Okay, so we've got our code up here and running. And I want to look, first of all, we'll start off with this guy over here, and we're going to make an end stop for the force sensor in port A. So first of all, if I look at this, it looks like it's the right button. When I press the right button, that's the one that makes it run into that. So that's what we're going to work with, okay? So I'm going to start up right here at the top with this one. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. What are we going to do? I want you to think about what really happens here. When I press the right button, it's just going to run. And it's going to keep running until something happens. Oh, until I release and let go of the button, and then it stops. Well, what if this? What if when we pressed it, it would turn off if you release the button, or if it ran into this switch here? So either one of those would be good enough to stop the motor. That's what we're going to do. We have a way to do or stuff, like where either one of two things could trigger it. So let's go down here and go all the way down in the menu to operators. See this? Operators. And you find this one that says something or something else. So I'm going to grab this and drag it out. So it means that instead of just one thing being able to trigger the motor to stop, we could have either one of two things. They don't both have to happen, but either one of those is enough to stop our motor. So let's grab this and put it in the OR over here. The other part of the OR, we want to be that a force sensor plugged into port A can trigger it as well. So go back up to sensors. Okay, back into sensors. And I'm going to go to this one right here. Here's our force sensor that we want to use. And it says when the force sensor plugged into A is pressed. Let's grab that and plug that in. You got to wait till it highlights. There we go. Now it's in there. Then I'm going to grab this whole chunk. And remember, you have to aim with this part over here. I'm going to grab this whole chunk and drag that until it's lit up. And now it's in there. Okay, so now we can see what happens is that when I press the button, it's going to start running and it's going to keep running until one of these two things happens. Either I let go of the button. That makes sense. I don't want it to run when I don't have the button pressed. Or it runs into this end stop on the end. All right, well, let's give that a try before we move on to the other part. All right, let's see if it works. So I'm going to run it. It should run to the left. Okay, there's a left button. That we don't care about that. Let's see if it works. Hey, look at that. Right when it ran in, instead of ripping the thing apart like it did in the other one, hey, look at this. It stops. Now it still goes all the way over here, and we're going to fix that. But now when we hit this and it starts to press that button, that's it. It won't go any further. And I can hold down the button. I'm holding it down right now, and it just ignores it. Okay, so now let's do the other one. We're going to do the other one in a very similar way. So let me move this out of the way down here, and we'll move the other one up here to work on it so you can see it easier. So when the left button's pressed, I want to use the color sensor. So let's grab the color sensor right now. Or first, let's grab OR. Here we go, operators. We got our OR. We'll put this one in here. So yeah, letting go of the left button is going to stop it. That should always be the case. Of course, we don't want it to run while we're not pressing the button. And the other thing that can stop it is going to be this, a color sensor. And yeah, I actually do have it. Luckily, I have it plugged into B. So I'm going to grab this one. Color B is red. Now, wait a minute. We're going to change the color, but we can do that in a second here. And let's put it right in here. And then, again, aim with this part, but grab it over here until that lights up. There it is. See how it's lit up? I let go, and now it's part of my code. So when the left button's pressed, it's going to run the motor until one of these two things happens, either one. It will stop it if the left button is released or let go of, or the sensor in port B sees, ooh, we got to change the color. There we go. Now, why did I choose that color? Because, if you remember earlier, that's the color that we put right here. And now I'm going to re-upload my code. Let's go back here and press play to upload this code. And now it's running. Let's see how that works. All right, so let's see. This one works already, but let's just double check. Good. Won't go any further, no matter how much I press it. And now let's check this side. When it sees this, it should stop everything. Hey, awesome. Now, if it works, though, we should still be able to go back the other way. Perfect. All right, cool. So now we have it working. And so now when you're done with that, bring it up here, hand it to me. I'm going to press the buttons to test it out to make sure it works. And again, this is end stops or limit switches. We had two types. We had the optical type with a color sensor that uses light, optical. And we also had the physical, which uses something that physically pushes up against it.